Hello, I'm Brenda Price, Associate State Director at AARP Michigan. Thank you for joining us today. We are so happy to have you here and for you to take your time and spend it with us. We're going to have some esteemed artists on today sharing their crafts with us. AARP is partnering with the Carr Center in Detroit as the Carr Center and Bedrock present an entire month of Black History programs with Black artists. AARP is shining a light on Black artists in this country who are helping communities to thrive. AARP is celebrating the arts in all of its forms, and the artists today will give you some samples of that. We hope you enjoy the program. I want to know that this is a very interactive, informal conversation. So we want you to participate. We want you to interact in the chat. You can post questions there for the artists that will be answered later in the program. We also want you to start off with telling us where you're from so we can get an idea of what cities, states that you're coming from. Again, we really appreciate you taking your time to join us today. Our first guest today is going to be Mr. Oliver Ragsdale. Oliver is joining us. He is a very busy person today. Today is the launch of a month-long program of Black History Month activities that the Carr Center is presenting. How are you, Oliver?
I am good. Thank you, Brenda. Glad to be with you.
Great. Let me tell you, the audience, a little bit about you. Oliver has led the Carr Center since it began. And prior to that, the Arts Leagues of Michigan. They provide world-class art programming in the Metro Detroit area and the state of Michigan, programming that is just endless with talent. He even brings in Debbie Allen to work with the children to dance. Over his career, he has presented and produced hundreds of presentations, art and cultural performances. Oliver is also a performer himself. He has performed with the Pittsburgh Opera, the Michigan Opera, and numerous other touring companies. Oliver, it is so great to be able to partner with you and the Carr Center and join this Black History Month programming because we both have a common theme about celebrating Black History Month and celebrating Black artists. So tell us a little bit about the Carr Center and the Black History Month theme.
Well, the Carr Center is a 33-year-old organization based here in Detroit, and we are in the business of amplifying Black arts and Black artistic excellence in all of its forms. We are a multidisciplinary organization, and as you'll see from the programming that we're doing this month in our special space, the pop-up space that we're in downtown Detroit, we have music. There's a little bit of it going on in the background now with a preview event for our partner Bedrock and their employees. We have a visual art exhibition that encompasses young people from Detroit middle school and high school students coupled with professional artists. We have dance performances. Tonight we open with an incredible music performances by the great Alvin Waddles, a well-known Detroiter who is doing a program on Black music in America. We are showcasing dance companies next week. We'll talk about our quilting project in a few minutes. We have storytelling with your guests from the Twisted Storytellers, as well as singing justice with vocal music and looking at African American music through a vocal lens. So just a wide range of activities that will be going on here.
All right. And tell me, how much does this cost the public?
It is free. It is absolutely free. We are delighted to have Bedrock Detroit as the presenting sponsor of these activities, and with the support of AARP Michigan, we're able to get the word out to people to come down. The location is 1001 Woodward, right in the heart of downtown, right beside Campus Martius Park. And we just invite people to come. It's on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays.
Love it, love it. And to find that building, they put artwork in the tall foyer on the outside of the building. So you cannot miss the building across from Campus Marcis. So why is
It's pretty dramatic, isn't it?
It is very dramatic. I took pictures last night.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
So you've been doing this work a long time, but share with us why celebrating Black artists and Black art is so important.
Well, I think that the important thing is that art is part of culture. Art is part of living. Art is part of America. Art is part of the world. Black people do unique art. We speak from a different lens. We see and speak from a different lens. The music, the dance, the visual arts are all very different than you might find in the German culture or that you might find in the Asian culture. And so it's important to be able to see it through that lens and from the Carr Center's perspective, from our context. It's very different to see a performance or an art exhibition that we produce and see the exact same work done in a traditional museum or a traditional concert hall. So we want to celebrate it. The Carr Center does it 365 days a year. We're just sort of fortunate to have what I would call this little Christmas opportunity for the next 29 days to showcase it and really lift it up.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's a month-long celebration. It's an opportunity for people to be able to come in and see performances by a broad range of artists. I was in the space last night. There's artwork in the room. Tell us about the artwork in the room and who provided that.
Well, we did a juried competition for middle school and high school students who live and or go to school in the city of Detroit. And through that submissions, we selected 20 pieces that are included in the show. And then we also have a range of adult visual artists, all paintings that are in the show. There are 11 adult artists represented in that particular show.
Great. I did see some quilts there last night, and I know quilting is a major component of this month-long program. So please share with us how the audience can be involved and what that's about. That is very important because it's a participatory event so that block clubs can participate. Share with us how that works.
Well, the idea that we had, we've done this one time before, probably about 10 years ago, where we created what we call the Detroit Community Quilt. And so we invite organizations, schools, churches, synagogues, businesses, families to create patches, 6.5 inches square, and we will quilt them together into a large quilt. You can submit your quilt to us by reaching out to the carcenter.org and get the information on how to submit it. Or we invite quilters to come down to the space and enjoy the programming, as well as if you need assistance in creating your quilt on Saturdays from 12 to 4, there will be 5 master quilters here who can provide instructions and or help you in creating your patch. And maybe you come this Saturday and learn how to do it, and you come back on the 4th Saturday with your quilt patch completed. And then we will quilt them all together into the larger community quilt and present it to the public later this spring.
That's wonderful. I might come down and take a lesson or two from someone. It's just
well, we invite you and all your viewers.
Yes, please come down. And I think it's wonderful for organizations. I noticed last night that the Boys and Girls Club had their artwork of design and clothing being shown. So this is an opportunity, the quilting project, for any organization to be able to, any sorority, any fraternity, any block club, to be able to quilt a patch and put it in a Detroit quilt. That's just pretty phenomenal. I've seen a lot of quilting shows, and I think that's very, very special that this program is going to offer that this month. And it's all free.
All free. And we call it Sewing the Community Together.
That's
And
wonderful.
unity is an important piece to the work that we do. Art can bring people together in unique ways and in very special ways, and can create community. So we are literally sewing the community together through these patches.
Well, we really appreciate the volume of work and the time that it takes to go in to put a month-long production together. And the two guests that we have that follow you are part of this work, and we look forward to hearing from them. We really appreciate you, being able to curate this and bring all of this together for the community. Mr. Ragsdale, we really appreciate you. I know you have a busy day, so I'm going to relieve you of any of this responsibility for the rest of the show. We're going to take it from you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. And we invite everyone to come down to 1001 Woodward and enjoy all of these things. You can get the information at thecarcenter.org.
Yes, and we will post that information in the chat so people will get it. And there's a QR code that comes up so that people can scan the QR code and be able to register for some of these events. Thank you very much, Oliver. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Brenda. Take care. Have a great day.
Well, that was wonderful. That's a free program. If you're in the city of Detroit, state of Michigan, Ohio, anywhere nearby, it's worth it to come down and engage at some point in time during the month. Our next presenter is a part of this month-long program. She is just fabulous. Satori Shakoor is a master storyteller. I so look forward to hearing from her. The more I read about her background, the more enthusiastic I was about the body of work that she does. I want you to join me in welcoming Ms. Shakoor to the platform here, and we are going to have a nice informal conversation. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you. Very well. Thank you so much for the invitation. And thank you to Oliver and Bedrock. Just listening to the lineup of activities he has curated is so exciting. So
it really is.
It's free. So come on down, folks.
That's right. That's the magic word, free. So let me give you an introduction, because your background is just really phenomenal. She's an artist and serves as the executive producer for the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers. And she is the executive director for the Society for the Reinstitutionalization of Storytelling. Now that really got me. I really love that. And she does so much more. She has a global mission to connect humanity, heal, and transform the community through art and the craft of storytelling. Just phenomenal. I must add that her journey includes being an actor, a stand-up comedian, a comedy writer, but the most interesting thing to me that just sent light bulbs off for me is that at some point in your career journey, you were a background singer and recording artist touring with George Clinton and the Parliament Funkadelics. Now, that is a big story in itself, I am sure. You
one
were
of the brides of Funkenstein.
That's right, one of the brides of Funkenstein. That is a journey. So welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you. We just have a few questions we want to know. We know you're on the program this month. People, we're going to put that information in the chat. You can also know the dates that she's coming and her fellow storytellers. So tell us a little bit about why the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers was created.
The Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers was created out of a journey that I took through grief. I lost my mother and my son within 9 months of each other. And 6 years later, as I was coming back from the devastation, I went to a storytelling contest, Slam, that an organization called The Moth presented. And I won. And they asked me, would I tell a story at the Fillmore Theater in front of 2,000 people? And then they started to fly me around the country, telling stories of my grief, loss, and beginning to overcome. And I noticed that the more I told my story, the more healing was happening for me, the more forgiving was happening for me. And I had an epiphany one night on stage as I was telling my story, and everyone was leaning forward. You could hear a pin drop, and I realized they were waiting for my next word. And then people started to email me from all around the world saying, "Thank you for telling your story." And this was 2011, 2012. And I noticed that Detroit was just coming back like me from emergency management, water shutoffs, gentrification, all kinds of hits were being taken on Detroit. And I thought, if I was beginning to heal from storytelling, could Detroit do the same thing? Now, I had no money. I lost all my investments when Wall Street crashed. I was living in a bedroom in my sister's house. But the idea was so delicious, it wouldn't let go of me. So the idea used me, and the passion used me. And I started out with 45 seats, and we grew and grew and grew. We've had guests like George Clinton, who just got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. We've had Michael Collier. We've had Dr. The Wiz. We've had so many local people from Detroit, regular people who I train to tell their stories on stage. I have a mission to help people tell their own stories, because if you don't tell your story, you're an extra or a supporting character in somebody else's story. So it's important that we learn how to tell our stories, because each story is a gift. Once you tell your story, you create a community, you create all kinds of connection. And so I started it out of finding myself healing from it, and then providing others who heard the story with a path to healing and connection. So it's 12 years later, and we're going strong. We're producing now out of Mary Grove Theater after COVID, and after the Wright Museum had water damage, we moved over to the Mary Grove. We've done storytelling in program spaces like the Detroit Institute of Arts, the Film Theater. We do a yearly programming at the City of Southfield Parks and Rec, which will be presenting storytellers there on Friday, February 23rd. So please come out. Okay. And we're excited to be partnering with the Carr Center, AARP, and Bedrock to present 2 shows with 2 programs of 8 storytellers for each, who will be telling love stories, Black history love stories. On February 4th, that lineup of storytellers will be featuring storytellers that are deeply connected to family and the sacrifices that we make out of love for our family. And then on the 25th, we have 4 storytellers who will be telling love stories of the profound contributions they've made to history, to Detroit history, world history, and their love. How most of these things come out of love.
Yes.
And out of something happening in our lives that changed the whole trajectory of the direction we would have gone. So we find that every cloud has a silver lining.
Yes.
Every story, there is something in that story that will provide insight, healing, joy, and community to the listener. So on the other hand, too, we are developing listeners, because we have these sound bites, these little shorts, and so the attention span wanes.
Yes.
But when you're telling a story, the whole brain lights up. So it's not only an art and a craft, it is a science. So the whole brain lights up. And if you know how to tell a story, then the listener will be fully engaged. So we believe that listening is obviously a generosity. It's voluntary. It's a human kindness. It grants being to another person. It's a very hard thing to do, because you have to give up your judgments, your assessments, and all of the tick, 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 to actually invite someone else's experience into your heart and be that person for however long that story takes. So I believe listening is a revolutionary act that happens between your ears, and that at the highest level, it's love.
Yes. That is just wonderful. And especially the tie into brain health, the listening and the developing of the thoughts. And the whole brain health piece is very, very important in our community to keep active and to keep motivated and to keep moving. Now, you touched on some things about the history. What has inspired you about storytelling? Because it is rich in our history. So is there something personal in addition to the grief, the history of storytelling in our community?
Well, I grew up in a community of old Black ladies from the Alabama, Mississippi, Jim Crow South. They were uneducated. My mother never made it past ninth grade. They were uneducated women who were master storytellers. They could make going to the corner store sound like Lord of the Rings. And they used storytelling in a wide variety. They warned us, they scolded us, they taught us, they imparted knowledge. It was a way to communicate. It's actually, storytelling is probably the most powerful form of communication there is. It's the most powerful delivery system of information and ideas. And you can prove that with your own life. You can remember stories you were told as a child. What else can you remember from your childhood except a story or some very deep experience that you will never forget? So stories, they go into your brain. You remember them, you own them, they become your story, and you use them in some kind of service to another person. Storytelling is perhaps the oldest art form, and it is particularly important to African people, indigenous people. We call them griots. And they were called griots in Africa, and there were several kinds of griots. Some of them had to keep the history. I mean, they had to remember the history of their people from thousands of years, and so they had to get every detail accurate and correct. And then you had the griots who told the stories, but those stories were more like Aesop's fable. They were told in the service of healing or imparting knowledge. Even during our time here as enslaved people, we used storytelling in a way it was a code. It was a language that directed us to freedom, warned us when trouble was coming. Even in our hair, the way that we braided our hair would show maps of the way to freedom. So it's a very powerful, very useful and neglected, I say, tool, but it's very useful now, particularly in our digital age, because now the 21st century is built for storytelling. So I think it's important that people learn how to tell their own stories in a compelling way, because it is a craft. It's not just sitting up there. It's not just talking. It's really taking the time to craft a story so that all of your brain fires and you can take that journey with the storyteller and get the value of the lesson and the message and the knowledge that storyteller through their experience is imparting.
You noted that there were storytellers that had different roles in our community, in Africa, in our community, different roles to be able to continue the tradition, the legacy, the history.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a particular area of storytelling that is important to you?
True and personal.
Okay.
True and personal storytellers, because those are stories from your own life. You're not making anything up. Every detail, you remember how something smelled in the room, the way you felt when your stepmother took her last breath, the decision you had to make to donate that kidney to your father. The kinds of things that happen the traumas that happen in childhood, the enlivened memories of that trauma, and how you navigated yourself through it. We've had stories, unbelievable stories of men incarcerated for over 39 years, and they were innocent. And when they got out of prison, due to the efforts of some law students at the University of Michigan, held no bitterness, used their life to educate other young men about the law because it's sometimes we go to prison and we haven't done the thing just because we don't know the law.
And they
We
did
don't-
that through storytelling?
Yes. Oh, yes.
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 Wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So on your two presentation dates, February 4th and February 25th,
Mm-hmm.
you have a group of storytellers.
Yes.
You
Two groups.
wanted two groups of storytellers that are
Mhm.
going to perform. Can you give us, I know you said it's love. Is there any more that you'd like to offer with us to tease us?
Well, these are like, I call them the best of twisted.
Yes.
So the stories range from funny to tragic to, oh my God. So but it's like going, if when you come on February 4th and February 25th, you're coming to a mini, like think of coming to a film festival.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a mini film festival, and these stories are Black history love stories, and each of the storytellers will tell you a story that is uniquely different, but all love.
Oh,
And you will
wonderful.
feel so good leaving the space, and you'll feel good in the space, and you'll be telling these stories around dinner that evening.
Okay. Well, it is Black History Month and it is Love Month. It's Valentine's Month.
It is. It
So
absolutely is.
very, very appropriate. And what's going to be so nice about this is you can come in person, but if you are not in the Detroit area or just can't leave home, you have other obligations, you can see this virtually because we are going to stream it live for our audiences. And if you register, you can get the detail of that information. Register using the QR code. The advantage of registering is we'll send you a reminder note so you won't forget. So we look forward to that. If you have questions, please put them in the chat and she will be back to answer your questions. And I've so enjoyed this chat. This has been very, very wonderful. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. That was just wonderful. It was a nice visit. It was a nice opportunity to learn a little bit more about storytelling. And you can tell she is a master storyteller. And our next guest panelist is going to take us in a different direction that is storytelling in a way, because when I'm listening to music, there are stories that are associated with it, particularly the ones that she does. We are going to bring on Dr. Toppin to share with us some of the history of Black music in this country. She is a very accomplished musician and faculty member. Please help me in welcoming Dr. Toppin to the show. Hi, how are you?
I am fine, and it is such an honor to be here with all of you and to support these wonderful free programs
Yes.
that are being done in Detroit. So, and I'm glad it's going to be accessible online to people.
Yes, and I can't wait to come see your program.
Thank you.
Let me share with the audience some background on you. She has received critical acclaim for her operatic, orchestra, and oratorial performances in the United States, Europe, the Czech Republic, Sweden, Cuba, England, you name it, she's been there. That has got to be a phenomenal journey in itself. You have performed at Carnegie Hall, Kennedy Center, Lincoln Center, and many, many others. Your performances are just too many to reveal during this short time period that we have. But it has been a wonderful, wonderful journey for you. And to top it all off, you are sharing all of your knowledge and your skills with students as a faculty member at the University of Michigan. So people, she is a scholar who has lectured on music in the African-American community, African-American composers, and a wide range of other music areas, opera. And to top it all off, I'm sorry we won't get to hear your performance here, but to top it all off, she does this with others. She does research and she shares this with other universities and campuses and professional groups around the world. So that is just phenomenal to be able to take your personal passion and your personal great skills of singing and to be able to share all of this information with future generations. And that's real important. So welcome to the show. I'd like to hear just a little bit more about your research center and why it is important that you share this history of Black music with the world.
Thank you for that question. It's a great question. I think that as Ms. Shakoor was saying the last hour, African American history is storytelling. And as you alluded to as well, songs are about stories. And without hearing these songs, we're missing a part of who we are and the stories that African Americans chose to write through song. My main concentration is classical music, and I chose that particularly as the concentration of Black music because it's an area we don't talk about, and yet some of the most compelling, we know the narratives we heard in jazz and in pop music, and those are important, very important to me. But there also are some other people who wrote these narratives from as early as the 1500s, which we don't talk about, through to today, and they were Black, and they are telling the story about the life of Black people around the world. So that's what I'm trying to do, and to encourage people as we talk about what students study in universities and music, they study white European composers. And my work has been to say, no, but there's a whole sub-narrative and a subculture that needs to be in this conversation with the European music.
Great, great. And tell me, your student population is not all African American.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So you are sharing this with students from probably around the world, given the size of the campus at the University of Michigan.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's important to me that I do that my audiences that I'm sharing for sometimes I'm at a historically Black university and I may have an all Black audience or close to it. Sometimes I'm at a predominantly white institution, but it's important to share this music and let people know it's for everybody and that our history, our stories are important for everyone. A little fact that you don't know about me is that my father led the association that founded Black History Month. He was leading the history organization at the time. So I grew up with the sense that African American history was important and that it wasn't just for one day. It wasn't even just for 1 month or 2 months. It was for all life. So
yes, that's very important. I say Black history is American history.
Correct.
So I really appreciate you.
Correct.
So tell us who are some of the composers that, maybe that we don't know.
Oh, there's so many, but there's one, I'll highlight two really quickly. Joseph Boulogne, Chevalier de Saint-Georges, a Hollywood film came out about him in this past April. And the reason that's extraordinary is a Black musician in the 1800s was a full-length feature film this year. And they were talking about him, showing him as a half African, half Parisian. He had a Parisian father, African mother from Guadeloupe. And he was enslaved, but he was brought to Paris. He becomes a nobleman. He goes to school. He does all the things that everyone else in European society does. And he becomes the head of the Paris Opera and the orchestra. And he rises to a fame that's just unheard of. And this is in the 1800s. So when people see the movie Chevalier, what is also extraordinary, it was an all Black creative team that is showing you this. And they're showing you that French society, as well as other European societies, included Black people that were free, that were enslaved. But how many times have we looked at a film about Europe or anywhere and not seen any Black people in the background? And they take this head on and they're saying, no, Black people were a part of all of these societies. So that's one favorite. My other quick favorite is Margaret Bonds. And I've spent a lot of time researching her. And what I love about her, not only did she infuse her work with classical music and jazz in her writing together, she was close friends with Langston Hughes. And throughout her career, they worked hand in hand. But what I love is she was also a social activist. So she founded a school for children in New York to learn music. She created concert series for other Black artists and musicians, composers and musicians, so they could have their work heard. And in a lot of ways, even though I didn't realize it, she has been a model for me that this music needs to be not just for you and yourself or your small community on a concert stage, but it's for the wider community. And that's why I love doing events like this, working at the Carr Center.
Oh, wow, just wonderful. We're just blessed to have you. You are also a soprano. Do you record any of your works that people can get through Amazon or wherever?
Actually, my young people told me, they said, "Auntie, you're on Spotify," back when I didn't know what Spotify was. So yes, I have 19 recordings that are on commercially, that are on the internet, and all but two are works of African Americans. So there's lots of opportunities to hear me singing this repertoire.
Oh, that is so wonderful. So for the Singing Justice program,
right,
that we're going to hear music from at this program on the 15th, can you tell us something about the Singing Justice program? You know, what is the backstory? The title alone is interesting.
Sure. So actually, the Singing Justice team is a grant that we won. We won a series of 3 grants. There are 11 members of this team, and we're multiracial, multi-generational. We are anything you can think of. We have students, faculty, and performers all on this team. We came together to figure out what project we wanted to work on. And we decided that we wanted to work on Black song. What is Black song? And not only in classical music, but what is Black song? How do we all relate to Black song? What do we learn from Black song? And even we've studied things like, how do Black people sing the national anthem? How has that been received over time? And so that's what our team is. We've won a series of 3 grants. We've been together for 3 years. And we created 2 things. We've written a book now that shows how we've come to some of our thoughts about Black song. And we created what we call a seminar recital. And that's what you're going to see on February 15th. And a seminar recital, if you think of a traditional concert, you come in, you sit down, you clap, you hear the music, and you go home. And you might get to talk to the artist at the end. What we've created is a program whereby the audience's input is vital to the concert. So during the concert, you are talking to us, you're asking us questions. We try to push the audience in terms of maybe surprising them with the kinds of repertoire. We are presenting both classical music and musical theater and gospel all in the program. It's me and 2 of my former graduate students, and a pianist and 1 of my colleagues. So it's 5 of us, but we are, again, multi-ethnic as we present this and have honest conversations with our audiences. So it's a lot of fun. We've done it in quite a few places and different spaces. We've done it in Black spaces and in white spaces. And it's been really revealing and helpful to us as we come to decisions about how to do our job better and how to change what people hear in the concert hall.
Wow. This is going to be a wonderful experience. It's going to be an interactive experience.
Yes.
I will be sitting right there. I can't wait.
We look forward to your questions.
Yes, September 15th. So I want to tell our virtual audience that
February, not September.
Yes, it's September. February. I'm way down the road.
Yeah.
I want to tell our virtual audience that can't be present that we will stream this. And you too will have the opportunity to ask questions. Our volunteers, our wonderful AARP volunteers, will take your questions off the stream and make sure that they are asked to the artists that day. So this is going to be a wonderful opportunity for our virtual audience that's beyond here, because we've got people here from Florida and other states. So it's an opportunity for them to participate also in the live stream event that you will be doing.
Fabulous.
That is going to be wonderful. So let me ask you this one question. I think this is just phenomenal work, the Singing Justice program. Is it modeled anywhere else in the country?
Not that we know of. I mean, this is what when I started my career as a singer, I used to do what was called lecture recitals, which was I was talking from the stage to an audience. So they're not interacting with me, but it was less formal. My whole goal was we need to make concerts less formal and more participatory, really. And so my team and I had been getting looser and looser with that. And I had started asking my audiences as I traveled questions. And so my team actually took that and began to create something completely new. We've even done performances in which, depending on the questions that are asked, the performers then perform music. And that's a little bit harder to do. That means we have to have a set playlist of what we're going to do. But we're trying several different things. But as far as we know, no, it's something new.
I think this is very, very, very interesting. I can't wait for the opportunity. And we do have questions from our audience, and we are going to bring up Ms. Shakoor again, and we will take some of the questions that have come in, provide an opportunity for both of you to add additional comments. I just want to say, ladies, I appreciate having both of you here. It's just been wonderful information. This is going to be an exciting time in downtown Detroit during Black History Month. This program is just going to be wonderful. A month-long program is just exciting in itself to have the opportunity. I want to share that, we have people from Florida, Nebraska, of course, Michigan, Philadelphia, Auburn Hills, Michigan, Kinley, North Carolina. So we have people who are coming from everywhere: Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, San Francisco, Belleville, Michigan. I appreciate having all of you here. Hello from Denver, Los Angeles, just Northern California. We just have a lot of people who are very interested in this programming, and that's just wonderful. We really appreciate having them. There are so many more cities and states that are listed here. It is just wonderful that people took the time. And if you've missed this or came in the middle somewhere, this will continue to be on our feed. So you can continue to see it. You can share it with family and friends that may have missed this wonderful presentation. It will be here. Okay. So somebody said the quilt is a fantastic opportunity. It really is a fantastic opportunity for anybody to be able to participate. The question was asked about how to visit the Carr Center, and those links are going to be shared at the end and may have been posted in the chat. I can't really see the Facebook chat, but that information is going to be provided. And we have a person who says, I've been to your storytelling event. You were wonderful, Ms. Shakoor.
Thank you.
I've been one of those people too. So yes, I can attest to that.
Thank you.
The other questions have been making sure that they register for the event. And someone else made a comment that said, every Black person truly has a story that should be told. Thankful for you, Ms. Shakoor. So the compliments are really coming in. Storytelling can unleash our trauma and heal. I found that to be a very, very rewarding part of your comments, because healing from trauma, our community, we see it every day on the news. That trauma comes to us in some form or some fashion. So one of the comments here is just somebody who just really appreciated that. That's one of the missions of the work that you do. This question is for you, Ms. Shakoor. Do you have a template or worksheet that would help people understand what's most helpful to include when sharing their stories?
I do. I have, when I do my workshops, I have tips for great storytelling. And there are really three that you can hang your story on. One, your story should be simple. So an 8-year-old and an 80-year-old should be able to hear your story, and to the degree of their lived experience should be able to follow it and understand. The next tip is start in the action. I'm driving down I-75 and I hit a snow bump. So and all this lead up, you start right in the action, because if I'm driving, you're driving. Stakes. The higher the stakes in storytelling, the more compelling the story. So life or death, what do I have to gain or lose? you know, I was on my deathbed when suddenly, so we, you know, those are the kind of stories that we tell. We don't tell stories that really don't take us anywhere, that don't have high stakes, or we do, but they're not the ones that we're glued to. I just wanted to say to Dr. Toppin, and to the listening audience, if you go to YouTube, you can hear her extraordinary soprano voice. You have a gift, Dr. Toppin, and I'm it's a privilege to hear you. So yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and so please remember those two things: simple, starting the action, have stakes.
Yes. Yeah, the comments are just full here about the storytelling. Someone said it is creativity for a purpose.
Yes.
And someone else said the ability to remember these stories have sometimes been hidden in order to survive. Yes. And like you, I remember the stories that were told to me and from my great grandmother and great aunts and everyone, and we still recite those stories, so they continue. So the work that you're doing is an opportunity for it to help other people know that it's important to leave a legacy, to share your stories. We always talk about, you know, sharing our stories.
When you're putting your genealogies together, make sure that you record your the older people, your your grandmothers and your grandfathers and your aunts and your if you're lucky enough to have great grandmothers, to get their stories on, to record them, to videotape them, so that you can preserve the histories firsthand.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to ask, I have a question for Louise. Louise, is there a centralized location about the work that you've been doing so that it's kept alive if students were going to research it? That's the question. You know, how would people find your work?
Absolutely. And I apologize. I had video issues and my things cut off, so I'm on my phone. So I've created a research tool called the African Diaspora Music Project.org, and it's free. I keep trying to stress that to people, and they can go, and it assumes you have no knowledge of Black music. You can simply start typing in your voice type. And when you do that, thousands of files will populate. If you know more information, like I'm looking for Langston Hughes songs, you can just type in the word Langston Hughes under poetry, and all that we have about 4,000 songs, but we also have orchestral works, we have chamber works, and this is all classical music, but it's particularly for those who are trying to get concert halls and operas and symphonies and all of those, and students to learn how to sing this repertoire and to learn these stories. This is what this tool is about. We have some partners, like Minnesota Orchestra has 2 concerts. They've done 3 concerts actually, using just our database. They went there, found it, and partnered with us. And they're presenting to their audiences full concerts of Black music. And that's beginning to happen around the country. My other thing is that I created a competition with George Shirley, who is my mentor. And it's for all African American and African diaspora repertoire, but it allows students of all ethnicities to enter it. And I use it as an opportunity to teach. Everything I do is about teaching. And so when the students come to compete, unlike most classical competitions where you compete for 10 minutes and you wait for the rest of the day to find out if you've won money or not, we have a model whereby you spend 3 days. You come Friday night, compete all day Saturday, but while you're competing, you have master classes with Black artists and others who know this repertoire. You have celebrations, you have concerts. It's a festival in which you're doing more. And then on Sunday, you have a winner's concert. So we go all the way to 6 p.m. from 7 p.m. Friday to 6 p.m. Sunday. But also we've gone from, in the first year, our prize money was $1,000, and it was my $1,000. So I put my money where my mouth is. We are this year giving away $65,000, and we're in year 14. I even created a different model for who gets money. So it's not just first, second, and third. We have wild card prizes. There are about 15 of them that a student can win depending on other criteria. So we're really trying to support young people in their learning of this. And we've become a community and a family where people come back year after year. And it's free to anybody who wants to just come watch for 3 days.
And where would someone get the information from?
So that's on georgeshirleycompetition.org. And it's at the University of Michigan, May 17 to 19 this year, but it's always the third week in May is where it sits. And we invite people to come see. It's an amazing atmosphere. We're from high school now, 14 to 18-year-olds. We have a college division. We have a pre-professional division up to 35-year-olds. We have a Black composers division, and we now have an international division. So those people are online. And last year's people came from Africa, Czech Republic, England, Holland, Germany, France, Italy. I mean, we're really beginning to, if you can guess by me, I'm trying to push the message that our music is worthy of study and consideration worldwide, because the composers are worldwide.
Okay. Well, listen, that is just fabulous, because that is how the legacy continues.
Correct.
That is how the traditions continue.
Yes.
That is a question for Satori. Satori, do you have any component of your work that helps to cultivate young people in the storytelling field?
Yes, we do have young people tell stories on our stage, but I also do workshops with young people. I'm just now having early talk with the Boys and Girls Club. I've worked with Affirmations in Ferndale. So they're Teen Hype. Different organizations that have young people. I come in and I teach them the craft of storytelling. Yeah.
Well, that is how it continues. I'm so glad to hear that both of you are engaged and continuing to elevate this work beyond your own work, and particularly engaging young people, and that's how it continues. That's how you inspire people. But also, there's the age 50 plus community that is inspired by your work. You know, as we mature, we get more time on our hands to do things. I expect to quilt at some point in the future. And somebody here asked a question, is they don't know how to quilt. Can they come and learn? Yes, there will be quilters on site every Saturday at the 1001 Woodward program to help you learn how to quilt so that you can quilt your patch. So you don't have to know how to sew. You can come and somebody will help you, because originally quilting didn't even involve sewing with a sewing machine. It was all done by hand.
And wasn't it also done, like they had an exhibition, and I can't remember the group of women, but they quilted together, and they told stories as they were quilting.
The quilting circles.
Yes.
And there are some quilting circles around Detroit. So if you come down, you might meet some of the ladies who are in the quilting circles, because they are the ones who are going to be helping people with their patches. So there are quite a few of them. They're held at churches and community centers. I've seen some growth in that area over the past few years, where people have started to really gain interest in it. I myself have been saving material because I sew for the day when I do have the time to quilt. So,
a lot of memories in the material, you know, like you're not wearing that anymore, but maybe your grandmother wore it, and it's a memory you're embedding in that quilt.
You hit the nail on the head. I've literally saved one of my great aunts' handkerchiefs. I kept them all, and when I knew when I got them, I said, these will become a quilt one day. And people are telling their stories in quilts today. There's some quilters in the metropolitan Detroit area that will tell your family history in a quilt. So all of the work that you all are doing and what we're going to see from the other artists at the programming this month at 1001 Woodward, we are so happy to be a sponsor at AARP because it aligns perfectly with our celebrating Black artists, amplifying Black artists during Black History Month. Ladies, I have really appreciated you. We have a few minutes left. If you have any closing comments, Satori, let's start with you.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for the invitation to be here, to meet you and Dr. Toppin and be exposed to all of what you do, your big hearts, and what's going to be happening down at 1001 Woodward Avenue this entire month. So I'm just very appreciative. So thank you.
Thank you.
Likewise, I want to say it was a pleasure to meet both of you all and to work with you and hear you today and bring up those wonderful memories. I thought about my grandmother quilted every grandchild a quilt, and I still have my grandmother's quilt, and that's such an important part of our legacy. So thank you for programming and storytelling. We are the next generation griots for the next generation. We have to pass this on. But thank you so much for all that you all are doing and that you're allowing us to be a part of, and we're looking forward to engaging with the community.
Yes.
Thank you. And I want to say thank you to our audience. To get more information about AARP events, just go to aarp.org and type in events in the search engine. You can get events by your state, in individual states to find out what is going on. We do a whole event page for the Michigan events. Please check us out. Thank you very much. Enjoy Black History Month.
All right.
Yes. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.